We are live with our 61st installment of Nansen Office Hours. GM, hello and welcome, Nansen Explorers. Thank you for joining us today. Drop your GMs in the chat, please. My name is Alex. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Nansen. Some people call me the token god. If you're new to our office hours, every Wednesday we do a Nansen and Chill session where we look at Nansen's new features, we answer questions from you, and we drop the occasional alpha leak. And speaking of alpha leaks, we have a very special guest with us today, namely Alberto, aka head of alpha leaks. We've been baptized as in our Discord. Welcome, Alberto.
GM, GN, GA, GN to everyone. How's it going? Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
I mean, I'm super excited to have you on with us at Office Hours. You are known in our Discord as someone who drops a lot of alpha, and you've been using Nansen for quite a while. I feel like you definitely classify as like a power user of Nansen. Would you agree with that? And maybe you can give a quick intro to the folks at home on who you are and how you ended up here.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm Alberto. I've been using Nansen since the white background days, which is really an elite group of people. Which the dark mode is much better, let me tell you. But yeah, so I've been using Nansen for Nansen. I should correct myself. Really a power user in the sense that I'm on it pretty much 2 to 3 hours a day, constantly just finding addresses, tracking things. Originally, I was a data scientist, so really just doing a lot of machine learning, SQL. And the beauty of blockchain, obviously, this data is all there. So you can just come in any time of day, night, query things, look at token flows, and really just access anything. So it's really access to the people. Anyone can run and download data. So it's really a beautiful thing.
I didn't know you were a data scientist, so we can really nerd out there.
We
can bore that.
Well, we have a Bayesian reference in this, so it's
nice.
Be perfect.
We have a shared prior. Amazing.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's good. So yeah, how did you end up in crypto? What's the backstory there?
Yeah, so to start with a bar argument a while back, probably like 2014, 2015, where someone said, heard about Bitcoin. I thought, okay, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And then you started reading about it, you read the white paper, and you go a little further, and you're like, wow, this is actually kind of interesting. This is very neat. And and still here. So I'm not going anywhere because why would you?
That's great. So I kind of feel like eager to just jump into Nansen from the perspective of Alberto. And
yes, exactly.
What do you think? Should we just kind of dive in and start poking around on dashboards and Nansen?
Let's just let's dive in. But before, I have to represent the swag of first Nansen sweatshirt.
Oh yeah.
And then you go one layer deep and you go into the Yearn protocol. So really, we're doubling down here in terms of crypto swag.
That's sick.
It's going to be epic.
Those are two incredible projects, I must say. If I can say so myself, I guess I was also how should I put it? One of the Wi-Fi producers, if I can call it that, in the sense that I was farming it at least. And Nansen, I guess I've had a bit more of an active role in that project. But that's cool. Actually, can I ask? Yeah, can I ask you about that? Like, were you also farming Wi-Fi back in the day, or what's your
that was a fun time.
Yearn?
Yeah, you hear about it one day, people are going nuts, farming Yearn, farming yams, and then really the peak was when they started making T-shirts. I think I bought the entire line of Yearn T-shirts. So I think one drawer is just entirely Yearn T-shirts. So it's
that's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, let me bring up the screen here. So maybe as a starting point, it would be great to. We can probably dive into a lot of stuff, but it would be great to hear kind of high level. Do you have any sort of almost like routines, or how do you approach the Nansen interface, like when you just start using it?
Yeah, so First, shout out to the team managing the Discord, because now they have put all the alerts and of hot contracts and things like that into Discord. A lot of mornings I just start there and see what's going on in terms of new contracts, token flows, and things like that. So I actually use it very differently than a lot of people. So one of the first things I do when I come to Nansen is actually go into token overlap. And one of the reasons for this is that I was getting very paranoid a while back about people like actually tracking my trades and thinking people were following me all the time. So I started to actually just see like, okay, well, what are some actually interesting overlaps between different tokens that I currently have either large positions or trying to enter. Of course, the paranoia was completely overblown, and no one was following me. But the interesting thing is you start to learn about who is making similar trades than you. And so I'll actually kind of get into an interesting case study around this later. But I think this is one of the most underutilized dashboards because one, you can see if you're making a trade of relatively big size, who is also entering the trade. And then who's actually like your competition when you're either trying to exit it or you're thinking of going into it. So I just kind of poked at two tokens here, Yearn and Synapse. So like let's say I just held like two positions in these tokens, which in full disclosure I actually own some of Synapse, and of course NFA to everything. You'll probably lose money if you follow me, so you don't want to do that. So this gives us a good idea of, okay, what's the overlap here between these token holders? Like, let's say if I own a lot of Synapse, is there someone that is going to try and, get out before me and then maybe like just nuke the market? So maybe there's a token millionaire here with 55,000 Synapse tokens, maybe not a lot of Yearn. So there's not really anything that interesting here that I can pick out where, both of my positions are going to get dumped on because someone's just going to sell the entire amount. So if I'm either considering a new token or if I'm trying to trade two things at once, I'm constantly coming here to see just like who's tracking me and then, what other people are trading it. Because a lot of times you can just pick up free alpha here where you see someone is trading a token that has a similar trading style to you. And you go, okay, now I'm going to follow that person. Now I'm going to put a smart alert on them because I know they're thinking exactly like I am. So I'm going to have that person work for me, essentially.
By the way, one question: do you primarily trade tokens or also NFTs? Or
yeah, so I'd say that the majority, probably like 85 to 90% is tokens, just because liquidity is a lot easier across different exchanges, arbitrage opportunities, things like that. Most of my NFT endeavors have been, I've gotten good t-shirts out of them, but other than that, I think it's been a futile exercise. But I thought I'd start with one. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, we do have this feature that we're testing out now for overlap in NFT collections, which might be interesting. Maybe it'll help you get more successful with NFTs. I'm not sure. But just wanted to shoot that in there.
Excellent. So I thought I'd actually start with a case study on Hopper, HOPR, which was one of a recent alpha leak in Discord channel. So Hopper essentially is a wonderful example because it shows the entire length of how you can use Nansen and really pick out the alpha and really find some interesting things. So the way this first came up actually was on Smart Money, and it was actually a Wintermute trade. And the first piece of advice I'll give is whenever people see Wintermute, they always dismiss it. They'll just say, oh, it's just Wintermute. They're just market making. So a lot of times when I see something on Wintermute, I know, okay, no one is looking at this because everyone's just ignoring it because they think it's just a market making activity. So the first thing I do when I come to something like this is scroll all the way to the bottom of notable wallets and just sort by ownership, because this gives you a very good idea of how tokens are distributed. So if we look at Hopper, you can see 22% are in the pool, 21% is a multi-sig wallet. And then what was very interesting was you can see this token millionaire here, 12%. So they actually received this token about 33 days ago. So that should be something that you want to click further on, because it could have either been a vesting round, it could have been a new raise within Hopper, it could have been just this person, extracting a huge amount from an exchange. So we're going to dive deeper, and we're kind of going to see, okay, who is this token millionaire person? So what's very interesting about this is they have 4.3 million of Hopper. They have the fourth largest amount of Hopper, and they only own Hopper. So we're getting to something very interesting here. What you want to do with these individual wallets is there's two things you want to do when you come to something like this. You want to see where they're getting their Hopper, and then where they're getting their Ethereum from, or where they're getting their ETH from. So all of a sudden, we have this kind of like this big, huge thing, because we're seeing that Hopper's actually, this address is getting their Hopper from the zero address, which means it's some sort of token raise. I mean, it could be some sort of staking thing where they're creating new tokens, but most likely it's from, it's a VC raise. So if we just Google Hopper VC raise, you can see that back in July 9th, 2020, Binance actually led a round for Hopper. So we're kind of getting a little close to see exactly what this transaction is, but let's see where they actually got their ETH from, because this story gets very interesting. So the first place they got their ETH from was this crazy wallet right here. So this is audience participation question number 1. Why should you be jumping out of your seat when you see this? The answer is that this is most likely an exchange funding different wallets. So you can see all the way at the bottom, Binance 31 to 4 ETH. And what Binance is doing here is they send out to all their new wallets all these small amounts of ETH to essentially fund the wallet. So this token millionaire essentially got their ETH from a Binance distributor wallet.
Oh, so this is amazing. Can I interject? Can we look at this address in the wallet profiler as well? Like if you had now you clicked on Etherscan, if we had clicked on just wallet profiler, I'm just curious how if we might be able to spot that from this view as well. And this is a good address for our attribution team to pick up, because I think it sounds like you're kind of one step ahead of them on tagging this one, because it's a Binance distributor is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, exactly. I will say the art of labeling is something that's just impossible to do, because you have to know so much about contract type, token flows. It's literally impossible to label addresses. I mean, Nansen does an amazing job, but yeah, there's so many different things that like fall through the cracks because of just like how crazy things are. So this is listed as EIP, EIP 1.59 user. So this is probably most likely a Binance distributor wallet. So we can kind of conclude here that this person that owns all this Hopper is probably the Binance Venture, Labs itself, because you have a Binance wallet giving a small amount of ETH to an actual wallet, which is controlled by Binance, but Hopper token is not actually listed on Binance. We can actually validate this by looking at the actual transaction of where this person got their where this person actually got their Hopper from. So let's go to wallet. Let's go to wallet pair profiler. So this is very convenient because you can see, okay, 33 days ago, the zero address sent token millionaire about 25 million Hopper. So let's actually look at the transaction itself. So if you go into the logs, you can see, okay, step 1, we minted tokens. Step 2, we transferred them. And then step 3, we have this thing called early token buyers in the schedule name. So this pretty much assumes right here that this wallet is actually Binance Labs that is actually getting their Hopper token about a year and a half later. So why is this important? Well, it's not like Binance has done something like invested in Woo. So Binance did something funny about a month ago where Binance led a $12 million Series A round in Woo on January 4th, 2020. And then maybe a month later, they listed Woo Network. I'm not saying there's a conflict of interest there, but there may be a conflict of interest there. So maybe you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, I'm gonna track this. I may not enter into a position of Hopper now, but I'm gonna track the token to see, okay, maybe people pick up on this and maybe people start buying the token. And so let's close some tabs for just our sanity. So the story gets a lot more interesting because we can actually go back in time and see what was going on with actual token flows. And you may hear my dog in the background. He's another alpha leaker. So what we can do here is we can see Hopper, the change in tokens from January 31st to February 11th. And so this token vest originally happened, I think we said 33 days ago. So we can go back in time and see, okay, who's buying this token? So you see Wintermute here, $500,000, 500,000 token. This is originally how I picked up the transaction. But then you have all these boring addresses, right? Medium Dex Trader, EIP 155 user. If you want, you can just really explore them and see what's going on. So we're gonna find two wonderful offenders here. So if you see like what the profile of someone who's buying Hopper after this VC raises, you can see something very interesting. So this is audience participation question number 2. Why should you be jumping out of your seat on these transactions? This is just so good. I love this so much. So 29 days ago, someone transferred out 100,000 USDC. They bought Render. 1 day later, Render was listed on Coinbase. So you have a wallet that's essentially front running the Render Coinbase listing, who's now buying Hopper. So if you think about this, like this is my Bayesian probability joke. If you think about something where you arrive to it with maybe you see Hopper and you say, okay, maybe I want a 5% chance of entering the token. Then you see a possible VC raise, maybe you may change that percent probability because you think, okay, this is going to be much higher because, there may be VC raise. Now you have people that are front running the token all of a sudden coming in. You're like, okay, now I really want to be a part of this because all these addresses are putting down huge amounts of money to buy Hopper. It gets even worse because Medium Dex Trader here, they did something just absolutely hilarious. So Nectar, what's funny about Nectar, Coinbase, they essentially front ran the Nectar listing. They front ran the Koval listing on Coinbase. They front ran the Moss listing on Coinbase. They front run the Fox listing on Coinbase. And now they're buying, they also front ran the Particle network on Coinbase as well. So if you come across an address that has literally front ran 5 Coinbase listings and now they're buying Hopper, you probably want to enter Hopper. That's my small word of advice for you. So when I first saw this, when I first saw all these addresses buying, I went into Discord and I said something along the lines of the amount of front running in Hopper is getting ridiculous because it truly is getting ridiculous. So the nice thing about this is once you see maybe like a token raise, you can set a smart alert for Hopper and say, okay, just give me transactions above $200,000 that are, people are sending or trading Hopper, or maybe just say $50,000. And then you can see in real time all these people buying Hopper and then kind of profile them to see what's going on. This also works because then you can actually see, okay, when are they selling Hopper? So if they bought it, 27 days ago, and there's still no catalyst of like a Binance listing, another raise, a Coinbase listing, et cetera. And then now they're selling their Hopper 6 days ago, you could probably get the sense that, okay, maybe the listing was canceled, maybe there's not an event going on. And so you could probably exit the position as well. It's interesting that this person also was in AVT, Mines, and Parsec and Hopper, but then they actually exited them 6 days ago for whatever reason. So we'll actually come back to this, to Mines later. But here's a situation where you essentially find a token via smart money. You then profile it. You then set smart alerts for the token. You essentially use all the features to figure out, okay, how should I adjust my position and what should I do, when I see all these different transactions.
Man, I just have to interject. On the one hand, I could just sit here and listen to you and watch what you're doing because I just enjoy it so much.
It gets better. We're just going to keep going. So,
wow.
February 25th. Let's just keep the smart alerts going for Hopper on, right? So, you can see here that more. I'm gonna X this guy out. Sorry if I just outed your wallet, person that front ran 6 Coinbase listing, but this person's now killed this wallet because it's completely empty. So I continue to just kind of look at Hopper, and you can kind of see here zero address to different VCs. So clearly, like these whatever was in the SAFT or whatever you want to call it, they just vested these tokens to different people. So here we have Caballeros Capital. I actually need to go further back in time because there's another, and I'm gonna out Spark Digital Capital. I'm sorry. I'm sure you guys are nice over there, but there's an interesting situation here where Spark Capital received their Hopper tokens and then immediately essentially dumped them based on maybe they didn't want the token anymore. But so here we're in token movements, and so we can kind of go back in time to see what was going on. So let's just say it was 9 days ago and you came to token God mode and you saw Hopper. And so you can see Spark Digital Capital receives 500,000 Hopper. So let's see what's going on here. It does look like obviously they have received the token because, and I'm going to guess that the zero address also sent them the token. Let's go to wallet profile for token. So you can see that when this loads, that Hopper did get, or sorry, Spark Digital Capital did get 1.9 million from the zero address. But then essentially 4 minutes later, they sent it to Elite Dex Trader. So the next question you should ask is, let's go further down the rabbit hole and see what happens here. So now we're going to profile Elite Dex Trader, and we're going to see, okay, what are they doing with their Hopper? And you can see that they are essentially just dumping it. So Spark Digital Capital sends to this address, and then they just essentially sell in blocks of 32,000 Hopper. What is?
I feel like I see this quite often, where a VC will just invest their tokens. They send it like one hop away, and then they start dumping. And it always makes me wonder if they think that we're not going to discover. It's like, right. Is that why they do it instead of just dumping it from the same wallet?
Well, yeah. So what's interesting about this wallet is if we actually just profile this wallet, if we actually go to, if you go to wallet pair profiler, and then you can actually see the USDC flow back to Spark Digital, which is really funny. Which means that they're probably using this address as some sort of, like maybe it's an OTC dump address. So what you could actually do here is you could create a label, like a smart label based just on this, and just call this OTC dump address. And then, because obviously if Spark Capital is sending tokens to this address, or really if anyone is sending, you probably want to know, if that's a core position in your portfolio, you probably want to be aware of that. So you can.
So the idea there would be basically, if this Elite Dex Trader wallet receives any tokens, that might be a sell signal because they're going to be dumping these tokens.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you can see going in the past, you can see, so 76 days ago, Spark Digital sends to Elite Dex Trader, and then Elite Dex Trader sends the USDT back. Same with Hopper here. So Spark Capital, and then Elite Dex Trader to Spark Capital for Tether. So you can see how we start somewhere with just a smart money, and then all of a sudden, 28 minutes later, you've discovered 5 new things, and you have 10 new labels for different projects. So that's, I think, really a very good case study of really end to end, kind of like how Nansen is just how you can really utilize just really all the features.
I love it. It's amazing because you're kind of simultaneously alpha leaking a specific thing, and then you're also kind of alpha leaking how to use the product. But then there's also a bit of alpha leaks for the attribution team that's like working on the labeling, right? Like the Spark Digital Capital that comes from somewhere, right? Like the different labels that you find in there. So I'm like texting the attributions team here on the side saying like, hey, you guys should follow the Alberto office hours because he's giving a lot of useful information on labeling, which is amazing. So it seems like your approach is kind of twofold in a way. Like one is to not just kind of leverage the information that you see in Nansen. I mean, you do that, but you also try to think what's additional information that other people, including the Nansen team, have not yet discovered and labeled. And then like, let's dig into that, right?
Yeah, it's extremely time consuming. I will tell everyone this. It's I mean, it's very difficult.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
But exactly. it's also weirdly fun, right? Like I know exactly this feeling of going down the rabbit hole and you're like, wow, now I found something, and it's like dopamine. It's very addictive.
Yes, absolutely. So when you first come here to a token and you see, okay, this smart money, get this huge amount of, you're like, okay, wow, I'm in it now. We need to go further. So that's essentially, that's one case study of essentially how you can just end to end Nansen, all the different features. I also want to talk about smart alerts. Because there's a couple of interesting use cases there. So I max out smart alerts. I actually have so many that I have to use other services to have even more of them. And I'll tell you about an interesting case study using smart alerts. And the way that I think about smart alerts is essentially, for some alerts, I don't care if I ever get an alert. Essentially, I'll just tag something as an alert. Maybe that VC dump address, maybe I'll never get an alert for it. But if I do get an alert for it, that's something that is absolutely extremely important to me. And also, I think people have like a hard time first determining what they should set in as alert. And the way that I think of it is you want to set an alert for the trade that you want to make. So let's say I wanted to buy Yearn, but I needed some sort of catalyst to buy Yearn. I only wanted to buy it if Block Tower was buying it, or I only wanted to buy it if these wallets that I was tracking wanted to buy it. I'll just set an alert, Yearn above $50,000 in spend or trades based on these wallets, and that'll be my alert. And if I never see it, maybe I'll never buy Yearn. But if I do see it, then I want to rush in right away and buy something. So I have this alert, a little alpha leak an alert it's called 99 ETH Club. It was originally 100 ETH Club, but this is another good audience participation question. Why did I have to change it from 100 ETH Club to 99 ETH Club? The reason why is I realized that I was missing all the ETH Tornado Cash transactions, because even though, I think we can look at this on chain, even if we know that with Tornado Cash, it's 100 ETH, it comes from like the 100 ETH address, it doesn't actually send 100 ETH. The person ends up getting like 99 point, I don't know how to spell tornado. People don't actually get 100 ETH. They get like 99.98 ETH. So yeah, 99.5, 99.93. So once I changed that, I was getting like these very interesting transactions because people would buy some crazy things when they tornado cash. But so essentially, I had this alert for Beanstalk protocol, which is essentially a stablecoin protocol that is based on credit. And I had an alert if someone buys more than 100 ETH worth of Bean, I want to let me know. I think I set this alert probably 8 months ago. Never saw anything from it. And then about 3 weeks ago, I got an alert, I got 100 ETH club alert, Beanstalk. So what's going on with Beanstalk? And I don't own any Beanstalk because I'm still debating whether or not to go into Beanstalk. So essentially what happened with Beanstalk was somebody bought about, I think it was like $250,000 of Bean, and it instantly put them in like the top staking position of Bean. So you have this EIP 1559 user. And I'll add, when you see something very boring, that's very interesting because people are probably trying to hide their transactions if they're just an EIP 1559 user. So let's dive into this person and figure out what's going on. So same approach here that we're going to take is we're going to use the counterparties tab and see, okay, where are they getting their ETH and where do they get their Bean? I will say, as a side note, I like to extract like as much information as possible. So like, where are they based? So if this person's probably based in Asia, if they're sending Bean to themselves at 12 in the morning Greenwich Mean Time. What's interesting about this is that you can tell if people are using bots or not, because if this is like all filled in, and we can probably give a good example of that, it's probably someone like a bot or an exchange. But if you have gaps here, that means like people are sleeping. So when I first started doing this in my account, you'll notice that there's like a large increase here, and there's literally 0 transactions here, and then more here because I actually sleep at night. So you can kind of get a sense of like, okay, are you competing against a bot? Are you competing against a person? Like to extract as much information as possible. So if you go to counterparties, you can see here, they got their ETH from ETH Millionaire and they bought it via CowSwap. So they're not getting a VC deal, but they're getting, they're just buying it via CowSwap. So they're trying to protect their trade somewhat using MEV protection via CowSwap, but they're getting it from ETH Millionaire. So let's profile ETH Millionaire. For the sake of sanity, we'll close that out. So once again, right, this is probably either a bot or exchange because they never sleep. It's probably most people are based in Europe or US because we're waking up and trading.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say on the exchanges, it's quite useful as well to look at. They tend to have a smoother profile because they have so many transactions, and they occasionally will have transactions during the night, but there's often like more activity during the day. This one looks to me like it's Asian, doesn't it? Like it's because this is UTC, right?
Yeah.
So if you're shifting that, like let's say 7 or 8 hours, then people are kind of starting around 2 there, like
right,
let's say 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And then if you go up to like 20, that's literally middle of the night, right? Like that's like 3 a.m. or something, which is where it's sort of at the lowest. So I think it's probably like an Asian exchange or maybe OTC desk or something like that.
Right. So first thing we notice here is FTX token, $3.6 million. That should probably just tell you immediately who owns this, or some people who own it. But let's go to counterparties because this kind of gets interesting. A lot of different exchanges here that they're dealing with, right? I don't know who Tiantin Qlander is.
I think I know who that is actually.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't know them personally, but I've seen them in a few dashboards before. Yeah.
Interesting. So right away, you can see something interesting, right? So top interacting wallets, Parify comes up. If we sort this by ETH, and we just kind of go through Smarter LP, we saw Parify earlier. We're trying to just get a sense of like who's interact. Oh, okay, here we go. Alameda OTC deposit. And then I think if we do, we can also find Dragonfly Capital is also in here. Struck Capital. So why am I doing this? Is because I'm trying to figure out, maybe this is an Alameda OTC desk, maybe this is an FTX deposit. But what's super interesting about this wallet is that there's only like 7. If you go just see how many transactions there are a day, there's like 7, 8, 3, 6, 4, 5. It kind of leads me to believe that this is either some sort of OTC desk, some over-the-counter trading, or maybe it's this like FTX deposit address where, only celebrities can deposit. Because, if you look at an FTX retail, there's going to be, thousands of transactions a day. But here on March 2nd, there's only 7. So
just to shoot in like another observation, which is the day of the week chart, right? I often look at that for Saturday and Sunday. If they're lower, then I will assume this is like an institutional, it's someone going to the office Monday to Friday. And then occasionally I have to do stuff on the weekends. But when there's a dip on Saturday and Sunday, I tend to assume it's like an OTC desk or someone who's actually manning this, personally. And they're working Monday to Friday. So I think that supports the hypothesis as well. Like from a Bayesian perspective, that this is probably like some kind of OTC desk or something like that, right?
So the strategy here is maybe you set an alert for this address and you just call it, OTC unknown or something like that. Because, if we think about, okay, who is buying Bean? We don't know who actually is buying Bean, but we know that they either have enough money to become part of this FTX exclusive club, or they have enough money to interact with this FTX exclusive club. So, from a Bayesian perspective, now you think about, okay, it was completely unknown before, but now we have this, higher probability that, someone actually important is owning this. You can also then set an alert for this person specifically. So then, we want to see, are they just farming to dump? Are they just, 30, everyone should probably just do something now because there's 34 gas. Just go crazy, everyone. Is there, are they just dumping it immediately? It seems like here they're voting in some sort of protocol. They're voting again. They're updating their silo. So they're being engaged with the actual product, which means, maybe they're going to hold it for a longer term. Maybe they, are actually interested in it instead of farming and dumping. So now you can set a smart alert here for this. So now we have, we just set 10 smart alerts in really 35 minutes that we worked here. So
There's a question in the chat for you on that note. If you come across something that hasn't yet been labeled, how do you keep track of it? Do you like use the favorite icon in Nansen? Do you or do you just keep a side panel for it? Like, how do you actually keep track of this stuff personally?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I actually have like a separate table in BigQuery that just kind of stores everything. So like if I'm just querying the blockchain directly via BigQuery, I'll just kind of join that table with Alberto's secret addresses table. I should probably call it something different instead of Google snooping on me. But
we should hook you up with Nansen Query, which allows you to basically get the magic of Nansen in BigQuery with lots of different chains, and you could join all those lovely labels. But we can talk. That's like a new institutional product that we're rolling out. Maybe we should have you on the alpha tester. The head of alpha should be alpha testing, right?
All the alpha. I just want all of the alpha. So you can see how we started with one alert. We just kind of poked around, and then all of a sudden we found something very interesting. I will say that, a lot of times, sometimes this just leads nowhere. You could just see they got it from Coinbase. Okay, we don't have to play around anymore. And so that's kind of like the two interesting things I wanted to highlight. We could also go back to token overlap. And so actually the way I've been thinking about this more recently is building audiences of different types of investors. So something that I've been tracking recently is Fief protocol. I actually got this idea the other day from doing this. So this is essentially a gaming guild on Avalanche. Their Discord is very good. Shout out to the Discord moderator. And essentially they're just playing very new games where in the Discord, a lot of people will come together to talk about pricing of different in-game assets. So it just launched on Trader Joe about 13 days ago. You can see that there. And then if we go to notable wallets, we can see one thing that stands out where one of the largest owners was this Blockwater smart address. So let's profile this person. And what we'll find here is that this address, for some reason, only owns gaming-related tokens. So if we go to Snowtrace, you can see they own DeFi Kingdom, Fief, Tailcraft, etc. So like, let's say you wanted to start thinking about your gaming token strategy, or maybe you wanted to find, what gaming tokens you can buy, or really like NFT related tokens. You could come to token overlap and then maybe put in like, Axie, and then, oh, that's not right. And then maybe like ILV or something like that, Illuvium. And so you can we can see, okay, who's holding these tokens. So maybe, we have, okay, so that makes sense, right? The SET protocol, the MVI index, which is supposed to hold all these tokens, is one of the largest holders of both. But now you have something like, okay, Elite Dex Trader, ETH Millionaire. Now we can just go in and profile them and say, okay, well, what do ODP.eth? So what does this person hold? So then, now you can create, okay, a smart alert. So if this person is a super game holder, which not really, but kind of, they own Sand, Mana, etc. You can essentially get new ideas based on they own Gala Games. You can essentially get new ideas of which game tokens you want to buy just based on what their transactions are. And this person apparently just sleeps for 1 hour a day. So for all the people out there, that's how much you have to work. So now you can get an idea of essentially, okay, like what game strategies do I want to buy using this feature right here. So you can kind of like build different audiences. You could do this for, NFTs with, maybe LooksRare and X2Y2 and, other kind of just figure out like who's a big buyer of NFTs, games, DeFi, etc. So I've been trying to use that a lot more to kind of like build these audiences of people that I think are interesting. So there's really a lot you can get out from this feature. Just you can think about it creatively.
It's very tempting to start nerding out on data science and machine learning, all this stuff, because it feels like this is kind of obviously a recommender system problem in a way. It's like you have these different latent, latent factors that are, for example, here's all the metaverse investors, right? And you could sort of probably do like collaborative filtering or something, and you would sort of surface them automatically. And so I think the concept that you're taking us through is sort of like almost like the proof of concept of that idea, which probably could be to some extent automated, right? Like if we just looked at the stuff at scale with the right algorithms, we could probably surface a lot of these, like, here's all the new hot gaming tokens based on like past gaming investors and so on, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can do a lot with it. I mean, just very basic segmentation of, just get all the gaming people, put them into segments, see what happens. Yeah, there's a lot of data science. I mean, because the data is all there. I mean, you really just are limited time to data science projects. Like forecasting TVL, something I'm working on now of, okay, could you, when is the ideal time to exit a farm? Is it when, this person starts dumping, what are factors behind that? There's too many data science projects to take on, but yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah, so we can also just go through, I mean, the hot contracts, obviously, it's very interesting to see Phantom dominated here. And this has really been taking over really the last like couple of weeks now. Like AVAX has kind of fallen back a little bit with Phantom really, a lot of interesting contracts here coming up. But yeah, the Discord, I think, is probably the best way to get these smart alerts, because you can see immediately when something hits the blockchain, okay, these are the people coming in. So really living out of Discord, really great job by the team there of putting these alerts in. And then yeah, there's so many more features we can go through, but I think another very underutilized one, and I was very excited when it first came out, was Entity Tracker, or sorry, Entity Billboard. So here we're just getting a very basic idea of, like who's using what token, how many people are using it, and things like that. I like this a lot because I can quantify actually, how many people are using something, because a lot of times you just hear, you can actually put data behind something. So, like how many people are actually using Coinbase? Is it 1 billion people? Is it 553,000? Are they, how many people are actually engaged with Coinbase? And you can also see obviously new projects here like JPEG, huge amount, pretty amount of user base here. And then really ones that are losing traction. So I think, IMX was interesting because, yeah, so here, very interesting, right? So looks rare. Number of users are decreasing. X2Y2, people probably just took the airdrop, dumped it. So that's seeing a pretty big decrease. We won't talk about Axie, but we'll protect all the Axie people out there. But yeah, very good way to kind of get a very good sense of, who's using what, and, just very quickly. So I think this is really great when it came out, but I feel like it's very underutilized.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think it is underutilized, but it's also hasn't been given that much love yet. Like it would be really nice if you could click through on these different assets and then look at the entity, almost like an entity profiler, right? Like we have the wallet profiler, we should have an entity profiler as well.
Yeah.
So that's missing, but I think it would make this a bit more engaging. But just wanted to ask you one question as well that I missed in the chat. When we were looking at Hopper, the question is basically how you initially came across Hopper. Like, did you just see Wintermute messing around with Hopper and Smart Money? Was that how you found it first? Or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the way that I first saw it, I'll pretty much click on everything that I don't know. So like, yeah, the crypto obviously is like so very multidimensional, because one, to really have a good understanding, like data science helps, like querying blockchains, predictive analytics, smart contracts obviously helps to actually read these, but then just doing, due diligence, reading about protocols. So, if someone new coming to this and you don't know what FTX token or Lido DAO is, it'd be impossible to go through this. But just as you build more reps, you become aware of, every single project. That way, maybe when you see one that you don't know or one that is new, you can just, maybe go into that one. So yeah, this originally just came up on Smart Money. It was just because Wintermute was, fooling around with it, or maybe they were transferring tokens, or maybe, it could be in a lot of other reasons. But then, just come in and say, okay, we can look at Vader, what's going on with Vader, who's buying it. And if it's, a lot of people dismiss Wintermute, but Obviously here, you could have just gone a little further and really saw something interesting. And these new labels are really good. Yeah, I would really recommend people reading up on, First Mover. That's a whole nother office hours, like really diving into early farming strategies. Like, how do you find, people that are really good farmers? This label works really well.
I actually have in my notes to bring up the new labels because I'm not sure everyone is aware of those, but you mentioned some of them, like First Mover, LPs, First Mover Stakers.
Yeah, I think
we've also done some improvements to Smarter LP, but I guess the First Mover ones are like the newest ones we have.
Yeah, I think there's a good example with Bent. So actually, another way you can use token overlap. So actually, Bent was something that came out a while ago. Essentially, it's the 23rd layer to stake your convex in. But when I was first talking to people in the Discord, they're saying like, oh, it's probably a scam because everything's a scam. But you can kind of come in and see, retroactively, if you just go to the bottom of Token God mode and then see the first in. So this is kind of like a good example of these filters. So I think we'll see. So here, yeah. So First Mover LP. Really, you could spend weeks just going back to degen tokens and just seeing, who is the first people in and with these new labels, and then saying, okay, who do I want to follow? Do I want to follow First Mover? Do I want to follow Smarter LP? I think there's also Smart Farmer. Oh, Leroy Jenkins, that's a good one. So First Mover staking, right? So here's another one. Okay, what were they doing in the past? Maybe I want to set a smart alert for them, because if they are, maybe this will give me a route into degen products. This person sleeps a little bit. You can see actually maybe they've abandoned this wallet because between December and February, their transactions have fallen off. Or maybe we can just go into counterparties and then see, maybe they've sent all their ETH, they've just gone to another wallet and started doing something. So really a lot of things, you can just use retroactively, go back to degen products, see what the new labels look like, and then kind of take it from there.
This is a good example of someone probably sleeping in those hours. Right? Mm-hmm. Maybe they have, maybe it's a small team or something, like they tend to sleep around, but maybe not. It's not as clear as it would be with just a normal human being, perhaps.
Right.
And there's a bit of a dip. There's also a small dip on Saturday and Sunday, right? So yeah, I mean, who knows? Could just be an individual that takes actual weekends. If you like I was talking about earlier, if you see a proper kind of institutional DC desk or something, it will be like 90% lower on Saturday and Sunday. This one was kind of less clear. This one also looks pretty human if you look at the hour of day, right? Yeah. Sleeping between, that looks like probably Europe or Russia or something. Right?
Yeah, so now we can see, okay, maybe Silo is something that we want to investigate, because that now it's also, you're kind of building these trees, because here in Smart Money, I think Silo was like on the second page. Yeah, see, this is how my mind works. Silo's on the second page here with Smart Money over the last 7 days, 1.5 million in inflow. You have this First Mover staking. They probably only have 28 cents, probably because they just staked and then they're just selling off of it when it's. So here there could be like a staking pool, there could be a farming pool, something like that. So maybe we want to go into that.
We could like do wallet profiler for token on that one, right? You can just right click on the token balances there. And then maybe we'll see some staking. I think we're often missing, it's a bit annoying. I think it's better in the wallet profile for tokens, but I'm often missing the individual transactions, because that's often why you have to jump out the Etherscan, right? Like Nansen tends to have this sort of aggregated view, but and here you see at least the largest token transactions, which is good. It would be even nicer if you had like, this is staking, this is like providing liquidity, this is a dump, like dumping it or trading it, right in the UI. Now you have to jump out the Etherscan to get that. Right?
Yeah. Or like something I've been thinking, like if you could show here, maybe like what are the, and I know this gets clunky, but like if I wanted to hover over this and see like what are the actual tokens, on 04 December, like what was the token that was created 5 times?
That's a good idea. Yeah, that would be nice. That'd be a really nice way to just read the history, wouldn't it? You just kind of scroll through it and you can see stuff.
Yeah, because we can go, we can obviously click out to Etherscan here and just do it like, just see. I'm also operating at like 25%. Normally I go, so staked out ice. So that's kind of interesting. Like they're just all over the place instead of Nemo. So here you can just kind of like scroll through it insanely fast, like a psychopath, and just see what they're doing. But looks rare, Goldfinch. But
I feel like one takeaway from me after just seeing how you use Nansen. I mean, there's so many takeaways actually, but like one thing that would just make the product a lot better is if there was a more streamlined way to just save your own custom labels, like in Nansen. You can do it now with the watch list, but it's pretty limited, and maybe it just needs to be fleshed out a bit more. And maybe you should be able to export them, right? So that you could like sync that up with your BigQuery database or whatever. The labels that you've been collecting here. I guess I would streamline things a bit as well.
Yeah.
Any what do you have any like product requests? Like what's the one feature you would love us to implement?
Actually, I think it's this. It's like the seeing the tokens. For smart alerts, it'd be interesting. And I just kind of do this now. And I actually talked to Maxwell about this, but estimating the number of alerts you would get. So for example, like if we went back to that bean example, you can kind of see like, okay, I'm going to get between like 7 and 10 alerts a day just by quickly going through it. But, if I added certain filters, it could go back and just, you could do this by just running a SQL query and just saying, okay, average.
Yes.
But to estimate.
I love this. This is so great. Like I remember thinking about the same thing a while back, and I don't know why we didn't do this, but it would be so nice if you could almost simulate the smart alerts, right? It's like in the last week, this would have triggered like once per hour or whatever, right? Like X times a day. It seems like such a no-brainer now that you say it. We should definitely do that. Someone else in the chat is saying that you should request some more smart alerts. I guess that's another thing that you would like to have, or?
Yeah, I think I'm not at 1,000 yet, but I need to go back and clean it up. Really, is what I need to do. But yeah, like I said, like some alerts I may never get, and that's fine. But if I get one a year, that leads to a 30% opportunity. Like it was worth it.
Yeah. So on the smart alerts, I think very often people think that you can sort of find this like holy grail of smart alerts, but actually you have to curate them and keep them up to date and add new ones pretty frequently, right? Which I think your case studies show that you're kind of going through all these different rabbit holes and you're discovering stuff, and then you're adding smart alerts. Occasionally you're like pruning them, you're kind of deleting some or deactivating them. It's kind of a living organism, right? The smart alerts portfolio you have.
Yeah, because sometimes you may set it for like a 20,000 trade, and then you get woken up 5 times at night, and your wife hates you because you've gotten all these alerts. So you're like, okay, maybe I'll put this at like 50,000 or 100,000 or 200,000, or maybe I'll exclude convex because I don't really care if Alameda just put $1 million in a Frax staking pool. It's not going to make me money. So I'll exclude Frax, Yearn. Actually, one feature. You could have like to exclude just, top 10 tokens or something like that. Like, because I'll just go through and copy paste like Yearn, Axie, Frax, Spell, etc. Because I don't really care about those tokens, but I care about the, the smaller ones.
How do you feel about shortcut keys? Someone is asking about that in the chat. Like if you had the hotkeys or something, are you a fan of that, or you're not much of a hotkey person?
Bloomberg nightmares all of a sudden. I mean, I think if it was done smart, that would be good. But I think I've just gotten used to just like clicking so fast that I just like my brain. Yeah, I mean, it could be something actually good. Get a Nansen keyboard. Yeah, I'll alpha test that. Yeah.
So another thing that I've been wanting to do for a while, and you're a fellow data person, so maybe you'll appreciate this, but I'll feel free to give me your unfiltered opinion. But one thing is that you can label individual addresses, right? What do you think about having ways to label like segments of addresses, meaning almost like you could just think of it as like a SQL query where you could filter like, here are all the people that own at least 1 million sushi and also own a Pudgy Penguin, and then you can set your own label, and that becomes a Nansen segment, and then you can like label that whole segment. You could add your own labels like that.
And that's a very good idea, because you could do also like, instead of like a smart money segment, you could just do that segment. I want to see all the Pudgy Penguin owners that own 1 million sushi. What other tokens are they buying? So like maybe there's a drop down here from Smart Money that it's like Pengu Sushi, or I guess that really makes sense because penguins eat fish. So that's like a perfect combination. But like I wanted to build like a game.
Thought through example.
Yeah, maybe a gamer audience where it's like, okay, now this just becomes the audience that I build with gamers. Yeah. So that's something, and you could do it, via a very easy SQL statement. You could do clustering, you could do, and then the other thing I think about a lot is like outlier removal, or like thinking about how to track outliers. If anyone has any good advice there, please let me know. But
I guess we tried to do. We have pretty good wash trading filter now, which kind of clears out some of these outliers where like looks rare wash trading of NFTs and things like that. But that's interesting as well. Look, outliers filtering. Yeah, that's another good point. We're actually coming up on the hour now, so I think we're gonna have to wrap up. But I mean, I have to just say, like, Alberto, it's been a pleasure watching you navigate Nansen. I mean, I've learned so much about how to use Nansen from watching you now, which is super cool. And I have so many ideas to take back to the product team and the attributions team, which is amazing. So thanks for taking the time to share all your alpha and all these
really the secret goal is just to become Daniel's. The secret goal is just to become Daniel's new replacement. So it's or at least beat Justin Bram's record.
And now you're here
twice.
And you're here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you should definitely come back. It would be great to have you back on.
Excellent.
I enjoyed this a lot. So we can wrap it up here for today. Hope everyone enjoyed this discussion. If you did, give the video a thumbs up, share it with all your friends. Remember to subscribe to the Nansen YouTube channel, turn on the notifications so you don't miss any alpha leaks. Thanks very much. And Alberto, what's the best place to get in touch with you? Is it Twitter or Discord, or
you can hop in the Discord. Hop in the Discord, Alberto. Discord. Yeah, that's where I am all day, every day.
Awesome. Amazing. I look forward to chatting more with you in the Discord, and hopefully see you back on office hours very soon.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thanks very much for coming. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good evening, morning, day, wherever you are, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.